Hello and welcome. In this video we will explain to you why ISO decided to change all its ISO standards, what is the change about, and most importantly we will show to you what is needed in order to make your company compliant to the change. The topic of climate change has been on the political agenda of the EU and of the United Nations since long time. For example, we can cite the following initiatives: the Paris Agreement, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and the United Nations Call for Action on Adaptation and Resilience. But after some years, do we have concrete facts that derive from these initiatives? Yes, but apparently we are behind on the schedule. A recent study showed that only a small number of big companies are meeting climate change targets, and Europe will miss its climate change goal by a long time. To tackle this, in September 2021, ISO made the so-called London Declaration. This declaration is a commitment that climate considerations will be included in new standards and added to existing ones. The declaration has been approved by ISO members from 165 countries. So, as consequence to the London Declaration, in February 2024, ISO released an amendment to the existing management system standards. Just to be clear, let's spend a moment to explain exactly what are the standards affected. We mean the Quality Management System Standard, which is ISO 9001, but also Environment Management System Standard, which is ISO 14001. Then the Occupational Health and Safety Standard, which is ISO 45001. And finally, the Energy Management System Standard, ISO 50001. You can see in this slide the official letter with which this decision has been communicated. But what is the amendment exactly? Let's see the amendment. We need to pick an example. We can see, for example, how the amendment has been included in the ISO 9001 standard. The changes are literally two new lines in clauses 4.1 and 4.2 of the standard. They are small, but with a relatively big impact on your quality management system. The first change is that the organization shall determine whether climate change is a relevant issue. And the second change is that relevant interested parties can have requirements related to climate change. So now let's see how to adapt your system. There are three activities. The first activity to do is to update the list of external and internal issues. In clause 4.1, the following sentence is added. The organization shall determine whether climate change is a relevant issue. So what's the first consequence of this? It means that the organization must determine whether climate change is a relevant issue for it. Let's take a step back. ISO 9001 requires your company to have a document called Internal and External Issues Analysis. In this document, your company mentions all the things that could impact the quality of its products or services. So, what should you do? Well, concretely speaking, you should add a line there in which you state if your company would be impacted by extreme climate events. For example, you should explain if your company expects to spend more in electricity because of higher temperatures, and these higher temperatures will maybe require your company to use more than the air conditioning. We compile it with just one example, but actually you should write more than one example. For example, how does your climate change affect your clients, or your providers, or your workers? For each of these examples, you should pick a line and make a description of it. And finally, please consider that this is to be done according to the management system that you have. For example, if you have a quality management system, you should describe in this table the consequences on quality of your products and services. But if you have a health and safety management system, then you should describe how it influences the health and safety of your company, and so on. The second thing to do is to update the list of interested parties. In clause 4.2, the note states, relevant interested parties can have requirements related to climate change. What is meant by that? Also in this case, we need to take a step back. According to ISO 9001, your company should write in a document which interested parties influence the quality of your products or services, and also which interested parties can be influenced by the quality of your products or services. And this document is called Interested Parties Analysis. So what should you do? You should edit your context analysis. You should add here how the interested parties that you listed are affected by climate change. For quality, you should state how this can have repercussions to the quality of your products or services. For example, here we added a part that describes how climate change could influence the way our clients see our company, and ultimately from whom they prefer to buy. Again, this is only an example related to quality. If you have an occupational health and safety management system, then you should write how climate change can impact the health and safety of your clients. And now, finally, the third consequence, management review. As you probably already know, every ISO 9001 company does every year a meeting called management review. In your next management review, you should include a statement about whether or not you believe climate change is a relevant issue for your company. If you have a quality management system, state if it is a relevant issue for the quality of your services or products, or if there is any specific way in which it could anyhow influence your quality processes. So, this concludes our video. We hope you liked it. If you have any question, do not hesitate to contact us at this email, occam@occamconsult.com.